And here is Wdage, of course, as we mentioned so many times, huge list of accolades, has had an incredible journey all through last season, culminating in that fantastic summer where he was undefeated, not only in these regional championships, but at NAIC, and of course with that top 3 finish at Worlds. Taking a look at his team here one more time.
All right, well, we have the Azumarill, which we've seen lots of play, the Vigoroth, which we've seen lots of play as well. I think the Chargebug and Gligar are some of the big standouts for this current tournament, just in general, as well as Lickitung. The one Pokemon that I did pick as far as part of my caster predictions was the Defense Form Deoxys. Was a little bit underwhelmed, but I'm curious to see how it applies towards DOONEBUG's team. That Rock Slide, notice that it's not the Thunderbolt, could be pivotal towards landing maybe against something like that Skeledirge. But let's move over to DOONEBUG here. Again, no stranger to these accolades as well. In Hartford, he did top cut and get top 16. In Baltimore, top cut as well. And he is the Texas hero, actually able to win the Arlington Regional Tournament back in 2023.
I want to give a shout out to DOONEBUG's resilience as well. You mentioned that regional championship win in Arlington, and remember, coming back from those losers finals, the same position he's in now, going to that grand finals and getting that reset. And of course, DOONEBUG here has faced so much adversity as well. Dropping his first match in this tournament and coming all the way to the losers final is one of the most incredible runs I think I've ever seen.
Well, I'm very curious to see what the team compositions for these two are going to be. We've seen a ton of Registeel and Cresselia pairings from DOONEBUG. Just so much bulk, so much flexibility. In fact, even in bad matchups, sometimes they can hang around long enough to eventually swap out. But guys, this is the losers finals. Win or go home for both of these trainers. Wdage versus DOONEBUG, and it's the Lickitung versus the Whiscash. A good lead for Wdage.
Good lead for Wdage. Does have that power whip, which absolutely threatens that Whiscash. And of course, that Cresselia Registeel core that we see in the back that you just mentioned has been really strong for DOONEBUG. You know, actually looking at Wdage's team, it's looking very similar to Elam's team, where there isn't a great answer for Registeel besides that Gligar.
Well, it's very similar in that they're both running that double normal strategy. I'm a little bit worried, actually. I was going to say, I think that Wdage ideally would like to have his Lickitung lined up versus that Cresselia, but no, he's actually saving it and swapping into this Gligar. I don't dislike this play, though, because Gligar is not going to have a lot of play versus that Whiscash, but this could be some planning from DOONEBUG in trying to bring this Whiscash out to free up his Registeel to sweep 2 normal-type Pokemon.
Yeah, that Registeel has a lot of play. You know, you said those 2 normal-type Pokemon, that Vigoroth and that Lickitung, of course, are going to struggle in the zero shield situations. Even the Vigoroth is going to be taking super effective damage from Focus Blast.
That's right, but here we are in this middle matchup. This could dictate what we see, because if DOONEBUG is actually able to soft lose this, get some energy on that Registeel, it could be impactful. I don't think we're going to be seeing many shields here, and it's going to be very curious if Wdage is actually able to neutralize this Cresselia, or maybe soft lose it as well and come back in with the Lickitung. It already does have about 1.5 body slam stored.
And actually, this is a great play from Wdage, just like you said, conserving those shields, because that Vigoroth is going to do very well against the Registeel when shields are up with those super effective counters.
And now that DOONEBUG has thrown this energy, I think he might actually be energy dry. I don't know that he's going to be able to reach one more charged attack. I can't imagine that you bring in the Vigoroth here. I think it's going to be the Lickitung. Already at 2 body slams, probably going to be able to farm to almost 3, getting just to 100 energy. No, does not get the Grass Knot. This Lickitung is absolutely loaded, but it's going to have nowhere to dump that energy. In comes the Registeel, and then a quick swap out from DOONEBUG into the Whiscash.
Wdage storing 100 energy on that Lickitung. Maybe going to try to go for a combination play later on this Whiscash if we can get that switch clock stalled enough. DOONEBUG throwing that first Scald here does get that attack drop as well.
You can see DOONEBUG, he feels very thankful to have gotten that attack drop. That is going to make this a lot easier for him to handle this Vigoroth. And what's a little scary now for Wdage is that if he ends up finding his Lickitung locked into that Registeel, he might get stuck with Zap Cannon debuffs that he is unable to shake once the Vigoroth is off the field.
DOONEBUG in a good position here, just needs to get rid of this Vigoroth, and I think his road to victory is clear. Probably just going straight for these Mud Bombs. The Vigoroth is getting pretty low in health here. Here comes another Mud Bomb, but actually first we see that Body Slam coming off from the Vigoroth.
Yeah, and at this point, even despite the debuff, these Body Slams are still something that you need to watch out for. DOONEBUG wants to try and get one more Protect Shield and has the Mud Bomb ready to go. Throws just before Wdage is able to get to this Body Slam. Wdage recognizing how important this Vigoroth is going to be. It's not going to get fast attacked down by either of these 2 Pokemon. And actually, I think we're going to see a quick swap. Yes, as the Body Slam, the combo played just like you predicted, Soph.
And DOONEBUG letting this go. Unfortunately, not much he could do about that. This Lickitung still has a lot of energy, but he is going to be trying to DOONEBUG is going to be trying to close out the game with this Registeel. He's going to be able to absorb all of this energy from the Lickitung, and then needs just a little bit of energy coming out of it to deal with that Whiscash.
The formula for DOONEBUG right now, Soph, is 2 Focus Blasts. 1 for the Lickitung,
right.
1 for the Vigoroth as well. You're not going to fast attack anything down, but if you can get to 2 charged attacks, I think that DOONEBUG is going to be in prime position to take this game. He has no problems taking any of these moves. In fact, all of the charged attacks remaining are all going to be hitting for resisted damage.
All right, DOONEBUG actually going for the Zap Zap Cannon here, might even see an undercharge and try to lock on down. He does not hit those last two bubbles, trying to get these lock-ons in while this Lickitung is still locked in and come out with energy for that Vigoroth, saving his shields as well.
How does he keep doing it? So every time he makes that perfect play so that he is undercharging, and look, the switch clock is not up. He gets a perfect farm down just as switch clock comes up. He perfectly maximizes his energy. He is so close to this focus blast. He still has a shield and he gets there. Perfect play from DOONEBUG yet again with this Registeel to take a 1-0 series lead. But let's not forget, we are here in the losers finals. This is a best of 5. Wdage did win the first game last time, but then Arrow came back. Can Wdage do the same?
DOONEBUG played that extremely well. He and Registeel are an iconic combination there, and I think Wdage is maybe facing a very similar struggle that we saw before against DOONEBUG's team. Not having a great answer for that Registeel, needing to rely on that Gligar, but unfortunately in that matchup, right, we saw that Gligar going on to the Cresselia instead. Potentially Wdage is going to be a little bit more aware of that moving forward, trying to maybe preserve that Gligar for the Registeel.
If you're Wdage, do you bring 2 normal type Pokemon again, knowing that that Registeel is such a threat, and even that Cresselia is tough?
I think the Vigoroth put in a lot of work there, but of course, if you're going to be matched up against the Cresselia, that would be absolutely awful.
All right, well, we see all that very, very tough farm down there. DOONEBUG getting an energy lead so that he can unleash that Focus Blast onto that low HP Vigoroth. Again, really just the amount of HP didn't matter so much, knowing that one Focus Blast is going to be enough almost regardless of the HP, and just great recognition by DOONEBUG, knowing to throw the Zap Cannon versus the Lickitung rather than throwing it against, throwing the Focus Blast to knock out and go into that matchup with 0 energy. So I am just so impressed. Day 2 DOONEBUG is so scary right now, so.
He is so scary, and I think they're actually already in this game too right now. Coming in the middle, we have Gligar versus Altaria, throwing off this aerial ice. I'm not sure how he got into this position exactly, but we do know that Dragon Breath is doing a lot of damage in this matchup. Looks like this is a lead.
Yeah, we can see that neither of these trainers have swapped out, so this is going to be the lead matchup, Flyer versus Flyer. I'm going to be very curious to see if any trainers want to invest shield. You have to give the fast attack pressure advantage to the Altaria. However, the Gligar is going to be pacing to moves much, much faster, especially after the Sky Attack nerf that we saw previous season.
I think if you're Wdage, he's thinking about the same thing as last game. There might be a Registeel in the back. We do see him investing 1 shield here, maybe trying to preserve this for potential Registeel. He does also have that Vigoroth in the back, which can put in some work with shields up.
And so yet again, we're seeing that Registeel Cresselia core that is just so bulky, can withstand so many charged attacks, and especially when you have a Lickitung and a Vigoroth, you're not going to be hitting super effective anywhere versus 2 of those 2 Pokemon. And just like you mentioned, you need this Gligar, but really smart shield actually gets to another move.
The perfect counting from DOONEBUG comes through again, and switch advantage is so important in this matchup. Look at that Cresselia Registeel core in the back. You want Registeel on the Lickitung, you want Cresselia on the Vigoroth, and I think Dune is going to get exactly what he wants.
Yeah, you do have the super effective counters, and I think you have to swap out, but you've got the perfect answer, and that is the Cresselia, and it's even running Moonblast, which I do like here just for that debuff chance. Grass Knot is definitely a solid move, but 2 Moonblasts, as we've seen earlier from DOONEBUG, is going to be the recipe to knock out this Vigoroth. These are looking very tough for Wdage here in this middle matchup.
This is looking like a very familiar story with DOONEBUG having the alignment he needs. He got switch advantage out of that matchup with Altaria versus Gligar. Again, those Dragon Breath, just so oppressive in neutral matchups, really set him up to get that switch advantage that he currently has.
What's really tough here for Wdage is that despite having 2 counter users, he doesn't have great responses to a Registeel at all. Once his Gligar has been neutralized, he is feeling like he's going to have negative or at least below average matchups into that Registeel, and DOONEBUG is just saving that Registeel for endgame, and it's working out for him not only in game 1 but here in game 2 as well.
All he needs to do is get through this Vigoroth, and that Registeel is really home free. Cresselia getting the last shield with that Grass Knot there. Vigoroth still farming up, but I think Cresselia can even withstand another Body Slam if it really wants to.
Yeah, and DOONEBUG is actually forcing shields before Wdage, so it puts him in a position where he can respond to the shield decisions from Wdage with his own shield decisions. Okay, well Wdage, you're going to try and force this matchup with your shields. I will respond by using my shield as well. But look what we have here yet again. We've seen this so many times in day 2. It is the Registeel into the Lickitung. You can see the frustration from Wdage. He knows that this is not the matchup that he wants. He's very close to going down 2-0 here in this best of 5 series. So
that simultaneous swap from DOONEBUG, great heads-up awareness. I think Wdage was potentially trying to get a lick down on that Cresselia, but unfortunately Dune responded too quickly. Dune is maybe going to need to throw another charge attack on this Lickitung to take it out, but you know, these body slams really are not adding up very much from the Lickitung.
I'm just trying to think from Wdage's perspective, how how do you handle this core of Cresselia and Registeel? It just seems so difficult. You think, okay, maybe Defense Form Deoxys, do I bring that into the Registeel? Well, still, those counters, they're non-same type attack bonus. You don't have Thunderbolt either as Wdage, if I'm not mistaken. Only has the Rock Slide, so that means it's resisted. So the only real answers that you have to this Registeel are your Gligar and then the counters from your Vigoroth. This is such a tough spot for Wdage, and DOONEBUG is absolutely leaning in on this Registeel. I love the plays from him.
And I think in past seasons, we've seen Registeel just absolutely dominate those zero shield situations, and that's exactly what we've seen. You know, trainers are getting kind of far from using things like that Dynamic Punch Metachan, which wins so convincingly. Now you have things like the Vigoroth and the Deoxys defense, which also lose that zero shield situation. I think DOONEBUG is trying to switch out here, but no, he already has the Focus Blast, able to take this victory and goes up 2-0.
Yeah, Wdage trying to make it as close as possible. You can see the effectiveness of those super effective counters from the Vigoroth. However, Registeel just too bulky, able to get to those moves just quick enough with the lock-on, and DOONEBUG winning 2 straight games yet again. Can't say that I'm surprised with how much momentum that he's had in day 2, as well as the second half of day 1 as well. And what's really interesting is it seems like that Wdage is just ready to go here. He needs to win 3 straight battles, Soph.
He needs to win 3 straight. Maybe he's thinking, you know, I could have won that last game. I know what I need to do in the next game, and I'm ready to go. I wonder what kind of adjustments he's made, though. But before that, let's take a look at the highlights from that last battle. I think this is just that end game where we have Registeel on the Lickitung. Registeel does need to take out this Lickitung with 2 moves. Here comes that Focus Blast. Gonna put this Lickitung very, very low.
That's right. All right, well, we can see that Focus Blast. Actually, no, did not see that Focus Blast land there. I think that these trainers are getting locked in. DOONEBUG taking his time, though. I think that Wdage, he's ready to lock in. He's just saying, hey, I'm ready. I know what I need to do. I just need to go execute. Lot of, you know, you can see the pensiveness right now coming from DOONEBUG. He's thinking, all right, how is Wdage going to be responding? I think he knows that that Gligar is a necessity for Wdage. He knows that that's going to be the primary answer.
That, right?
Maybe he tries to swap it up and say, okay, well, if Wdage just maybe brings that Gligar in the back, I might throw the Registeel in the lead, which we've seen him do several times.
Right.
We've seen his Registeel line up versus Lickitungs in the lead several times.
You know, I think that Cresselia Registeel core that you've been talking about, what beats it from Wdage's, and maybe the Charjabug is the best answer, doing super effective damage to Cresselia and then resisting Registeel's moves. But we'll have to see what adjustments those trainers have made, and they're already on the field here. We've got Deoxys defense versus Cresselia.
Okay, we do have the Gligar in the back. That is the one nice thing. I do like that he's bringing all his answers to Registeel now. 2 counter users as well as a Gligar. But this is not a nice matchup for this Registeel. I may be even thinking, hey, do you swap out to your Vigoroth? And the only response I can see is either stay in or bring in your Registeel. And in the 2-shield matchup, that's not nearly as bad for the Vigoroth as it would be in the 0-shield matchup.
That's right. Maybe Vigoroth and Gligar, we have this backline where both of those Pokemon do pretty well against Registeel, so Wdage really making that adjustment there. DOONEBUG, of course, does have that Altaria in the back, which is going to have pretty good neutral play against both of Wdage's back Pokemon.
And you know, it's even better to have Moonblast in this scenario as DOONEBUG, one of the few trainers actually running Moonblast in lieu of the Future Sight. But Future Sight is resisted versus this Defense Form Deoxys, and you're simply having to just go for Rock Slide after Rock Slide after Rock Slide. Even the next Rock Slide does not knock out this Cresselia, so it's in a very good position right now for DOONEBUG.
You know, this is a nice matchup for the Cresselia, but I don't think you come out with actually that big of an advantage because Deoxys defense also is a quite bulky Pokemon. You do see them actually throwing on charge attack priority here. Wdage able to get off this Psycho Boost, realizing that DOONEBUG wouldn't let him get to the Rock Slide, so great awareness there.
I like this play a lot because it puts this Cresselia in a much more manageable position. You're not going to fast attack down from yellow HP a Cresselia. It's just too bulky. You have resisted counters with your Vigoroth, and then you have neutral wing attacks with your Gligar. But I do see an opportunity now for this Vigoroth to, oh, well, I was going to say maybe the Gligar come in, but this Vigoroth will be able to outpace, might even throw one more just to try and charge attack priority tie. Going for the full farm down, though, so if this is a little interesting.
Yeah, DOONEBUG was committing to that Moonblast, didn't want to settle for that Grass Knot, so great awareness there that Wdage was going for that farm down. Vigoroth does take that Moonblast, doesn't get that attack drop, which is really great, but DOONEBUG actually brings in the Registeel, doesn't want to take this energy on the Altaria.
Now, this is interesting. He might have been predicting the Gligar in the back. He's saying, all right, well, I've seen the Defense Form Deoxys, I've seen the Vigoroth now. I'm predicting that Gligar in the back, and I don't want to see that I don't want to see my Registeel anywhere near that. So I'm going to go ahead and bring the Registeel into this Vigoroth. I can take all this energy that you built up, no problem whatsoever, and I'm going to start getting shields here as well. So this is actually a very smart play by DOONEBUG, in my opinion.
Absolutely. Gets gets to absorb all that energy without needing to use any Protect Shields. Wdage farming up as much as he can, very close to 100 energy during this first body slam here. This is the more efficient move, but you do still need a couple of counters to take out this Registeel.
I would like to see Wdage try and catch a move at this point, because I don't think you're going to be able to farm down. This is actually forces a decision. DOONEBUG either has to shield this body slam, or he just has to let his Registeel go. You actually still have, I think, a second body slam on your Vigoroth, and you can get to this rock slide no problem. In fact, I think you can get to 2 charge attacks versus this Altaria. I think Wdage has some win conditions at this point, so.
I think so too. Before we saw Gligar versus Altaria, lead versus lead on kind of even footing, but now this Gligar has some help from the Vigoroth, which is able to get to this charge attack. DOONEBUG already used one shield. Does he want to use the second? Oh my goodness, almost closes the app here in his indecision. Shields up the rock slide, and here comes that Gligar. This is going to be very close.
All right, well, that's a smart shielding decision. That is actually going to be the hardest hitting attack, the super effective attack. So I like the shields there from DOONEBUG, realizing that it's probably that Gligar in the back, and the only thing you're going to have to worry about is going to be the aerial aces, which hit a lot less hard than the rock slide. As Wdage, you need to get to 2 aerial aces here, and I don't even know if that's enough. You can see Wdage, he's feeling very comfortable. 1 aerial ace not going to be enough. I don't even know if the second's going to be enough, so it's going to be very close.
It's going to be very close. It might, like you say, come down to those fast attacks. We see that first aerial ace land doesn't do a lot of damage, and Wdage kind of going for the dig. Maybe this is just a concession. It's not going to do a lot of damage, and DOONEBUG is going to be able to take this series 3-0.
That is right. DOONEBUG looking absolutely unstoppable. Altaria looking very imposing as well. Just needs to Dragon Breath down that Vigoroth. I like the response from Wdage there, bringing 3 of his best counters to that Registeel, but DOONEBUG, too much recognition, too many precision plays, and that Altaria had everything that he needed to close that out with a 3-0 series sweep. He'll be moving on to the winners finals and an all Texas finals versus Arrow.